And we're coming to you live for the Build Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Couple basketball teams here in New York just getting by last night. The Knicks beating the Raptors. St. John's getting by Georgetown. Jerry will have all that for you coming up. But we got NFL news percolating around the league and locally as well. After we get off the air, we knew it was going to happen at some point yesterday. The decision on Breece Hall. He is tagged by the New York Jets. I think this is a mistake if they cannot sign him to a long-term deal. If they go into the season with him playing on the tag, I think that's going to be a problem. He could be a distraction, and I would not rule out them tagging him, which they already did, and then finding a trade partner with him somehow, some way along the way, which is a possibility as well. I know they want to keep him, though. And you got Kyler Murray officially out there. We knew it was going to happen, but everything you've told me about your pal, Frank Reich, is that he doesn't like tiny quarterbacks. And that's what Kyler Murray is. He's a tiny quarterback. He likes the 6'3", the 6'4", the big, tall, stand-in-the-pocket guy, and Kyler Murray isn't that. So even though Kyler Murray is going to be cheap to the team that signs him this year, and he's got a great track record, I don't believe he's going to end up here with the Jets. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing well. And, in regards to Kyler Murray, here's the thing. The key word that you just said is cheap. That's the key word. Now, the other key word for me is short.
Yeah.
So he's short and cheap. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that would be the way that the Jets would go. I think they would want a different type of quarterback and a different type of physical stature of a quarterback. Somewhere between 6'2" and 6'5", 215 to 230, somewhere in there would be the sweet spot for Frank. But then again, you never know the decisions you have to make and the considerations that you have to take into account. So if they're going to spend a lot of money in free agency and, they want a quarterback that's going to be a stopgap quarterback that's going to want to try to make, a name for himself and reestablish his career, and he's going to cost you $1.5 million, as your quarterback, then that obviously goes into the equation, depending on who else is available. So I never say never, but if you ask me today, I would say no. But I wouldn't be surprised because of the cost maybe associated with him that it would be a possibility. That's the only thing I would say. A possibility just due in large part to the amount of money that you would save if you signed him.
So Frank would go against his quarterback model.
Yeah, but it's not just Frank. It's Darren Muji. It's Aaron Glenn.
But he's the guy who you brought this guy in to be your offensive guy. If Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn force a quarterback that Frank doesn't want onto the roster, that's already starting off on the wrong foot.
Let's not start an argument that's not there yet. All right? Let's.
All you've done is told me that Frank Reich does not like tiny quarterbacks.
Yeah,
That's you since the second I met you. Hi,
yes,
I'm Boomer. I went to East Islip. You're Gio. You went to Bellport. By the way, my buddy Frank Reich doesn't like tiny quarterbacks.
That's true. He prefers, not that he doesn't like, but he does prefer a larger quarterback, yes. And all you have to do is look at his history.
Yeah.
And you see who he has played with the exception of one player. And that one player was Bryce Young.
But the owner made him draft that guy.
Exactly. So, again, the Jets are in a weird spot. I told Brian Costello this the other day. I've said it for weeks, if not months already on this show, that they're in a really weird spot when it comes to the quarterback position. And we all know they're in the stopgap spot.
Stopgap spot.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to need two quarterbacks. They're going to need two veteran quarterbacks. And, Kyler Murray may have an opportunity to go to Minnesota. If I were Kyler Murray, I'd go to Minnesota. If I were Kyler Murray, I would go maybe to Miami. I may go to somewhere else where I feel like I would be the unquestioned starter for the team. And maybe the one thing I will say about the Jets, and I've been very consistent about this, I think their offense is pretty good. I think their offense can be pretty good and can be supportive of a good, solid veteran quarterback. I think they can run the ball. I think they can pass protect. I think that they do have wide receivers already on this staff roster that are good, and I wouldn't be surprised if they draft another one.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Minnesota is interesting. So they're in a cap situation that's not great. They're releasing guys. They're talking about trading other guys. So the fact that he's as cheap as he is and someone who is a talented player is going to be interesting to them. And also Kyler Murray's going to look at an organization that's got weapons and they got a coach and offensive and playing inside and all those things.
Oh,
so
they
that
got Justin Jefferson and I'm playing inside. I love that.
Yeah, that may be the place for him, but I'm not sure what they really believe in J.J. McCarthy or not. But I said this before about your buddy Frank. He's got undiagnosed achondroplasiophobia, which is the fear of little people. He does not like little people, and it's just tough.
I think if you would talk to, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of the coaches out there, they know what the physical requirements are for the position, and even the big guys like Daniel Jones get hurt.
So I was thinking we would bring Little Boomer over there.
Yeah,
our buddy Scott.
Yes,
who went to high school with John Franco. Mm-hmm. And is a huge fan of the show. We'll put him in the Little Boomer costume that we had at Boomer and Gio Live, and the 7 jersey, and the Bengals jersey, and the helmet. And then we'll get Frank over this whole thing, and we'll get Kyler Murray here on the Jets, because that would be exciting. One thing's for sure. If he ended up here, which I don't think he will, but if he ended up here, it'd be very exciting. It would be – there he is. Look at Little Boomer right there.
Yeah,
so this
there
is
he
Boomer swinging around Little Boomer at Boomer and Gio Live. So if we want Frank to – and Jerry's covered his face. He's like embarrassed. But we'll get him over there, and we'll say, hey, listen, you can get over your achondroplasiophobia, and you bring in Kyler Murray, and we get this thing going in the right direction.
Yeah. I saw a couple of people out there saying the same thing. Look, number one, it takes two, right? It takes two for something like this to come together. I don't necessarily know the Jets are the perfect place for Kyler Murray.
He's not going to want to come here
either.
That's
what I'm saying. Like you just talked about playing indoors, playing with Justin Jefferson, playing with a team that obviously 2 years ago, because of their quarterback play, they made it all the way to the playoffs and almost made it to the – well, they didn't almost make it to the Super Bowl, but at least Sam Darnold showed that you could go there and you could play with Kevin O'Connell, who, much like Frank, is a great play caller, great play designer, and you could have immediate success.
Yeah, I would think that this is also, by the way, I'm looking at a synonym for the thing I was saying. There's also there's a thing called lollipop gildophobia. There's actually a thing called lollipop gildophobia.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a thing for everything. There's a name for everything.
If you're walking around telling people you got lollipop gildophobia, you got some major issues. But yes. So anyway, yeah, Kyler Murray. What this is
by the way,
the Russell Wilson situation in Denver all over again.
Yeah, and by the way, the other thing that this is something that we've already talked about. We knew that Kyler Murray was going to be available. We know that Kirk Cousins is going to be available. We know all these players are going to be available, and the Jets know all these players are going to be available. So every single one, I would imagine, I'm thinking that you're in Darren Muji's office or you're in the conference office over there in Floral Park, and you got all these names up on the board, and you're looking to see which player is going to give you the best performance given the amount of money we're going to have to pay him. And do they understand your offense? Have they been in your offense before? Can they get the team in the right positions? Can they get them in the right formations? Can they make the checks at the line of scrimmage? Can they run a 2-minute drill? Can they handle a 4th and 3 when you're on your own 39-yard line in the first quarter, and you decide that you want to go for it? I mean, these are all the things that you're kind of going through, and you're looking at all these players. It's slim pickings, yeah, and people get excited when the obvious happens and Kyler Murray becomes available. There are going to be other teams that will be going after him too as well, because he's going to be cheap. That's the number one thing. It's about when the Steelers signed Russell Wilson,
like for $2 million,
right? That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know that that it's in the offing for the Jets. It all depends on what the other options are.
I think it's going to be Kirk Cousins, because I could see Kirk Cousins being guaranteed the starting job with the Jets and probably not guaranteed the starting job anywhere else. And him and Frank, I could see hitting it off right away. Kirk is a guy who's not going to look at an organizational history and be like, man, I don't want to go there because this, and this. He's going to want to prove himself, get an opportunity to start. He's going to look at Breece Hall. He's going to look at Garrett Wilson. He's going to look at Frank, and he's going to want to be a part of that offense. I could see him being that type of guy. Kyler Murray, I can't. Malik Willis, they're not going to spend the money on. Some of these other options that we were talking about are just not good enough because I believe that the Jets are trying to win football games this year because of the people in the building want to keep their jobs.
They do, and I still think that this is probably a 2-year starting stopgap situation because even if they do draft a quarterback this year, let's say it is Ty Simpson. I don't, is he going to be ready next year? Is he going to get some play time this year? He's certainly not starting the season this year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid barely played in college. He may be a great kid. And by the way, his measurables aren't the perfect measurables either. But he may also have the other aspect that, like Matthew Schaefer has. Maybe he has the ability to, step on the field and completely absorb a new playbook and understand how to read defenses and how to react to those things in a very short period of time. You never know which one of those kids are able to do it. Like Jaden Daniels was able to do it. I mean, he was a freak of nature his rookie year. C.J. Stroud, for whatever reason, his rookie year was able to do it, but he's regressed the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So you just never know with these players. And again, I personally, would think Kyler, I think you said it right. I think indoors, Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, go out there and take the job from J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I think that they're in a bit of a transition right now, but they did keep Brian Flores there, so that is a good thing. So hopefully, with draft picks and everything else, they can rebuild. But I mean, they're going through. There's a lot of turning over the roster, especially on the defensive end there, but he's not going to care so much about that. He's going to look at the offense, and he's going to look at the weapons, and he's going to look at Kevin O'Connell, as you'd say, playing in a dome, and all of those things are going to be appealing to him. I was driving home yesterday, and I was listening to, Tiki was fired up yesterday. I'm talking like big time fired up.
I like it, yes.
To the point where Evan was backing down. He was like, hey, I'm not trying to argue with you. He was one of those things.
And this had to be a football conversation.
Oh, it was a football conversation.
Because baseball, I think Tiki tends to, let Evan do his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tiki was fired up, and what he was fired up about was that, this team has to win, meaning the Jets. They have to win this year, and they're going to get a quarterback that is going to put them in the best position to win, and they're not just going to throw somebody out there that stinks and hope they can get a first-round draft choice. And part of the reason why he believes this is not only based on the fact that these guys need to keep their jobs, which is 90% of it, but also they got 3 first-round draft choices next year. 3 of them. So you can be able to, with all that draft capital, trade up and still get a quarterback in a quarterback-rich draft next year.
They say that every year about every quarterback draft. This quarterback draft's going to be great. This quarterback draft's going to be great.
But this one never was. This one here, no one was ever even talking about. Really, it was, and even Fernando Mendoza wasn't really talked about.
And he is right with those 3. Depending if they hold on to those 3, they could trade up and move around this year's board with one of those picks. You never know who they're looking at and who they think is going to be an immediate impact player. The one thing I also will say and agree with Tiki 100% is that yes, for the coaching staff they have to win, especially for the head coach. The GM, I'm not so sure. I got so far what he has done, I think, has really been very good. Mm-hmm. Trying to remake this team, and he's trying to do it on the fly, and he's doing it, I thought, with really smart trades during the regular season. I don't know who he's talking to. I don't know who his mentor is. I don't know if it's George Patton out there in Denver, but he has set this franchise up right, assuming he makes the right picks here, and he had a pretty good draft last year. So why wouldn't I think that, this kid knows what he's doing? Seems like he's really plugged in and he understands exactly what was needed, even though that he had to go through a lot of pain along with the head coach. And I think by virtue of hiring Frank and this offensive staff, and with now Aaron Glenn calling the defense, think about all the offensive situations that Aaron found himself in last year. Yeah. And unfortunately, made the wrong call in certain situations. Now, guess what? He's got an ex-head coach up there calling plays who's running the offense that can take that part of it and help Aaron manage that part of it. That's another part of the hiring of Frank Reich, why that would be good for the Jets.
You went kid with Darren Muji.
Well, he is
40?
He's still a kid. I look at him. I see
Really?
a young man.
40's a kid to you?
I see. Yeah. Well,
I'm
you're
43.
kind of a kid.
Am I a kid?
No, you're 43 and you got 2 kids.
Okay. Well, he's probably got kids, I would imagine.
I know, but when I see him, I just see a young guy that you had not seen before, and this is his first foray as a general manager in the league. So he's coming out of his rookie year, and I would give him an A+ in terms of, with the exception of the quarterback discussion, but I think that was more Aaron Glenn saying, hey, we had a hard time defending against Justin Fields when he was playing in Chicago. Maybe we can get something like that out of him. Plus, we have Tyrod Taylor in our back pocket. So we're good there. So this is the other thing. Yesterday, it's funny you bring up Little Boomer because Gunnar and I did an appearance yesterday, and I'll talk about it at 7 o'clock. And one of the security guys there was at our Huntington Paramount show with Little Boomer.
Yeah.
And he knows Little Boomer personally. So
Does he?
This is
No,
twice
Scotty?
now. Yeah, Scotty. This is twice now in less than 12 hours that I've heard about Little Boomer.
Sometimes people make impacts. And Scott, Little Boomer,
He
has
made
in our
made
lives.
a huge impact, yes.
And now he's a permanent fixture. By the way, also they play this drop on Evan and Tiki that's very funny. So I guess one time when Beningo was on and complaining about the Jets, he referred to Darren Muji. He thought his name was Daryl Muji, but he said Daryl Smiles Moogie. So they were playing that drop ball yesterday. Him saying Daryl Smiles Moogie. So that's who the number one Jet fan who is leading the charge of the other Jet fans thinks his general manager's name is.
Well, this is why,
Daryl Moogie.
So since the season was over, since the Jets season was over,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be the debacle that it was, and they ended up with the second overall pick, we talked immediately about what was it going to take next year in the 2026 season in order for them, and this was before Frank was hired, and this was before anybody else was fired, by the way, except for Steve Wilkes. What was it going to take for them to, keep Woody Johnson from becoming impatient? And we both felt like there has to be significant improvement. There has to be a significant amount of wins, and then if they do win 6 to 8 games, which is possible, then what happens? Then they fall out of the top 5 of the draft.
That's right.
Now, they have 2 other draft picks from 2 other teams, and you never know where those teams are going to end up. But I think both of those teams would probably be outside the 10 if you think about the Cowboys and you think about Indianapolis next year.
Hey, you never know. That's why they play the games. You know where these teams are going to end up, right? You never know what's going to happen. It's a long season, injuries.
That is true.
You just don't know. It's a fool's errand to try to predict these things, Boomer.
Yeah, but this is what we get paid to do. We try to predict, we try to speculate, and we try to figure it out. And so far, I think we've been pretty accurate.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, what I think, A+ for us. 100 out of 100.